So I've always been super passionate about real estate. I knew I always wanted to be in real estate. I always imagined myself being a real estate investor. But funny story, actually, the reason why I got into real estate was because I wanted to do medical device sales. So I don't know if you know what medical device sales are, but that's basically when you work for a medical device manufacturer, let's say Johnson & Johnson, for example, who makes medical device pieces and parts, and then you sell those. And so I was super passionate about medicine, and I've always been super passionate about sales. But the traditional path for that is getting into outside sales, which usually is selling printers. And so a lot of people go work for like Canon, for example, and they start selling printers. That's like the antithesis of who I am. And so I absolutely did not want to do that. But I knew that I was super passionate about real estate, and I knew selling real estate was probably the hardest thing you could do. If I can sell real estate, I could demonstrate that I would be capable of selling medical device. So I actually got into real estate initially so that I could hopefully leverage that path to get into medical device sales. Well, it turned out I was pretty good at selling real estate. And so in 2006, I got my real estate license, and I've been a licensed agent and broker for the past 16, 17, almost 18 years. But that's how I got started in real estate, was to get into medical device, and then ended up getting into real estate and started a real estate company, and I've been doing that ever since. Another reason why I actually got into real estate was because I bought my first house when I was relatively young. I mean, now a lot of people buy properties young, but I was 25 years old when I bought my first house, and I was super inexperienced when it came to the actual buy and sell of real estate. I had read books, for example, on real estate at that time. YouTube was barely becoming a thing. There wasn't a lot of information out there. So it was kind of, finding your way. And so I bought my first house in 2005, and I had a real estate agent who was a really nice guy, but I just don't think that he did a great job of explaining the process, right? And so when I bought my first home, for example, I didn't know that you could get a home inspection. I used that in my mindset going forward after I got my real estate license of, I want to make sure that everybody that I know that buys real estate through me is very familiar with what this process is like. This is what they can do. This is how I can protect you. This is how you can protect yourself. And so that was a big motivating factor for me getting my real estate license and moving forward. So bought my first house in 2005, became a real estate agent in 2006, and then I've been doing that ever since. So when did I start seeing success in my businesses? So I actually got into business at the worst time possible. I got into business in 2006, which arguably was maybe the best time possible. But then shortly after was 2007, 2008, 2009, which we all know was the Great Recession. So I started my businesses, and then the economy melted underneath me. And so for a few years, it was a real struggle to even make money, let alone to be successful. So the first couple years in starting my business were the most challenging, I would say, probably in the past couple decades as far as starting a business goes. So I didn't see success in my businesses till probably 2010 to 2011 is when I started to start seeing success. And I will say, I think probably the largest contributing factor to that was because I marketed through that whole time. So I continued to invest in advertising. I continue to put my brand out there, my brands. I continue to put my businesses out there and keep them in mind when it came to people who were looking for those services and looking for real estate and sort of thing. So that's something that I learned going forward and still use today. That's still something that I teach like younger entrepreneurs. It may seem counterintuitive. Investing in advertising in 2007, 2008, 2009, people thought I was absolutely crazy. There were businesses going out left and right, but I knew that if I could just weather that storm, that the grass would be super green once that storm cleared. And that's exactly what happened. Around 2010, 2011, the storm started clearing. I had been investing in my businesses that whole time. I never gave up, and I started seeing real success. And from that point forward, over the last basically 2 decades, I've had pretty significant success. So when I started my business, the number one source for advertising, you ready? Yellow Pages. Can you believe that? The phone book. People actually used to invest in this thing called the phone book. And when I say it was investing in this, it was expensive. Like to pull a full page ad in a phone book was $20,000, $30,000. It was ridiculous. And it was kind of crazy actually over the next few years to watch these businesses that had been thriving for so long and making so much money essentially go away. And so the phone book went away. Digital advertising started to become a thing. I watched Facebook actually become a thing. People used to say people are going to start advertising on there. And then I'd hear people say that's crazy. That'll never happen. And now look at Facebook. Now look at Instagram. Now look at all these social media platforms that have leveraged marketing. I mean, essentially that's what I'm doing now. Even with this is leveraging my own brand through social media. I wouldn't have been able to do that back then. It was impossible. I mean, unless you were willing to invest a significant amount of money into television or doing something to get your face in front of lots of people, it was an impossible time to do what you do now. So young entrepreneurs that are doing what I'm doing now, you guys have so much opportunity, man. I was thinking about that the other day, like how much opportunity people have now compared to what they had before, how much experience. You could literally go on your phone and pull up 10 billionaires right now and suck all the information from them for free. How many billionaires do you know personally? Probably zero. And so how do you get around people like that? You can't unless you're going to get into those type of rooms. So social media, the internet, those things have leveraged the ability to get in front of people and to really pick their brains essentially and to learn from some seriously successful people. Stuff like that was not possible 20 years ago. Now is the most amazing time, the most abundant time. Going forward with AI, if you can leverage that technology, the most abundant time. I mean, I could never imagine being alive at a better time than right now. So Yellow Pages was a big one. And now it's pretty much all digital. Now I will say that in a lot of my businesses, I feel like because print had gone so far by the wayside for those probably 10 plus years, that print is actually a pretty good advertising source for me. So when I say print, I advertise in magazines and a lot of what we call direct to mail marketing. So stuff you get in the mail, those type of things tend to be pretty successful too. I do think now people sort of like having something tangible in their hands. And so I've never moved away from traditional print advertising sources. I've just sort of altered my strategy. Obviously the phone book doesn't exist anymore, but I still do a lot of print advertising. So when I say that advertising source went away, it didn't really go away, it just changed. People don't advertise in phone books anymore, but they do a lot of direct mail marketing. So I do a lot of direct mail marketing. I do a lot of digital marketing. A lot of those things kind of have dictated my business for the past couple of years. And going forward, I think I'm really going to implement some AI into my business. I think I've already started doing some like copyright stuff, some ad print stuff. You got to think about what AI is now leveraging, allowing you to leverage your abilities to do. You can have a full team just with ChatGPT, stuff that you couldn't do before, you didn't have the time to do. You can write a whole ad script in literally 30 seconds. For example, I went on ChatGPT the other day. I said, write me 4 ad creatives for my Google profile based on these set of parameters. Boom, boom, boom. Within 30 seconds, I had 5 or 6 ad headlines that I can use. That kind of stuff is just leveraging your abilities, and it's allowing you to do things that you weren't able to do before. So take advantage of the technology, take advantage of the time we're in. We're in a time of abundance. And for more content like this, follow my page. Make sure you hit the notification button. It'll drop little links when I'm dropping gems like this going forward.